Hey, Dad!
One of the most unique positions about having kids is realizing that not only your actions have consequences, but your consequences have consequences. What do I mean by this? I mean that when you're single or living without children, you might have to deal with the fallout of immediate actions. Oops, I spilled the milk. No use crying over spilled milk. You spill milk as a father. Now you're leaving to get the milk, and your family is wondering if you're ever coming back home. You come back home to prove them wrong, but it's too late. The damage is done. Your wife told them to just eat the cereal with water to make them stronger now that they don't have a father. You plead with them. You're right here. You were literally gone for 15 minutes getting milk. Your children look at you and they say,
We don't know who you are, Dad.
Now, seeing how things are different, I've always fancied myself the friend that someone could come to for advice if they needed it. While I'm not the smartest man or the most rational, I am open to listening to my friends' problems and giving feedback and any applicable advice I can think of. But the thing is, now I have to do this on a daily basis. But more than that, I also have to live with any mistakes I make as I whip out my on-the-fly advice. With my family or friends, if my suggestion didn't pan out, at the end of the day, I would just own up to my mistakes and say, my bad, and then I could just continue on with my life. The kids, however, well, as an example, like with most kids, we found ourselves in the classic case of, I'm scared of the dark, last year. So one day I tell them that we sleep in the dark because the darker it is, the better we sleep. So when it's dark, it actually lets our bodies rest better, which is actually true, by the way. And this actually worked wonderfully. My boys were sleeping good for about a month, and life was so good until one day Junior wakes up in the middle of the night. It's pitch black. He can't see. And what I can only say breaks my poor parent heart, he runs around, bonks his head as he was dazed in the middle of the night and he couldn't find the door to go potty. This leads up to the current day, and now we have this frequent argument before bed. No nightlight so I can sleep good versus I need a nightlight so I don't wake up and hurt myself in the middle of the night. And I'm stuck at an impasse where I try and convince one that we can just close our eyes so it's dark enough to get good sleep, and the other one that we don't need to be afraid of the dark just because one time we got hurt. It's not going to happen every night, and it's okay to sleep in the dark. However, when I think of advice that I would want to pass down, I always think about advice that I was given that has stuck with me. It's like how the world tells you simple words of, if you find a job that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I used to take this to heart too much. Where now, I don't think those words are necessarily wrong. I think that if we learned anything from the mass YouTube retirement that just happened, it's not entirely true either. I grew up always hearing those words echoed from every teacher and facet that I came across, to when my uncle came and told me, he said, sometimes you're going to work a job you hate so you can keep doing the things you love. And my honest and immediate response was just, what a sad opinion of a defeated man. But as I got older and experienced the world, I realized there was a lot of weight to his words. There are no perfect jobs. Most of them are pretty awful. And there's also times where it's hard to keep a good attitude, but making sure that you take time to enjoy things is a good way to keep yourself happy. And while I do disagree that you should stick with a job you genuinely hate, I do think that there are going to be times where you end up dealing with the bad so you can keep the good. All my life I've been a dreamer, someone who's lived immersed in his own wild delusions of grandeur. So hearing words that were grounded in reality were like a harsh sting, and I wanted nothing to do with it. Whereas now, I want to be someone grounded, a strong foundation for my kids. I've spent too long chasing dreams, changing dreams, looking elsewhere. But in all my dream chasing, I've realized that there are two types of people, and it's hard to find a balance. So the advice that I would have for my kids, for anyone who hears, is simply work hard, but don't forget to have fun. I have friends and family alike who are too busy trying to grind for the future that they've forgotten to just relax and have fun. They look like empty shells, husks of people when I talk to them. And I always feel awkward talking because while I can appreciate their work ethic, I feel like it's become their identity. It's the way they build for the future and retirement by sacrificing their current life. And that's something I never want my kids to experience. You can do both. It's possible to work hard and still have fun. The two aren't mutually exclusive. I feel like people who subscribe to the grind lifestyle forget that morale is a thing and can genuinely change workflow. This doesn't mean go out and blow all of your life savings or quit your job. Like I said, work hard, but don't forget to have fun. Just, if you find yourself holding back from that one game that you know will make you happy, get it. If you want to get that makeup because it makes you feel good and look good, get it. Invest in yourself once in a while. However, if you're on the opposite end and you're struggling with finances, then make sure you're working hard. Strike the balance. Find the happy medium. I feel like too many people fall into the victim mentality of, I have to win to have fun. And that, if they see someone doing better than them, that must mean they're losing at life. When it's so much more nuanced than that. Wanting things is normal. Feeling like a loser because you don't have things is not. Imagine for a second, a little kid is getting bullied because they don't have the latest consumer brand fork. The kid comes home and begs their parent saying, everyone has to eat, let's get consumer brand fork. So the parent looks up the price and sees $30 for a fork? Heck no. But now, this poor kid can't sit at tables. Other kids are calling them broke and pathetic. So eventually, they convince their parents to get knockoff brand fork. And everyone at school still teases them about it, but now they can at least sit at the table. Does this situation sound like the stupidest thing ever? Yes, it is. But change the item from fork to tumbler and consumer brand to Stanley, and we've got a real problem that kids are going through right now. And even though most adults know this phase is going to pass soon, and it's easy to see that it's kids being immature, it feels like adults often fall for the same ploy, but with the gripe chain. You make 6 figures, you can't complain. Well, you have a nice house, you can't complain.
You have a house, you can't complain.
You have an apartment, you can't complain.
You don't have roommates, you can't complain. You didn't have to move back in with your parents, you can't complain.
I'm the only one who knows suffering. At the end of the day, everyone has their own gripes and woes. And while objectively, some are more real than others, everyone's going to have their own worries. The best thing that we can do is just, work hard and don't forget to have fun. I think it's the only way to stay sane these days, honestly. But what about you? What's the most sagely piece of advice that you've heard? I'd love to hear it in the comments below, maybe even share it with my kids if it's good enough. And if you made it this far and enjoyed the video, then please consider subscribe, as it really helps out with the doobity-doo rhythm and jam. Anyway, thanks for watching.
It's over, Dad.